In this tutorial, we're going to continue looking at the setup process for your instructor deck. We'll be looking at grouping content, students, and even instructors into courses, groups, and we'll even introduce you a little bit to the power of badges. Before we begin, let's have a quick look at a concept that's important to ByteDeck. It comes from the Japanese kanji Kaizen. And the kanji Kaizen is steeped in Japanese culture, but basically it means continuous improvement. You need to know that there are some limitations to items like courses and groups, but that ByteDeck is in continuous development. So any limitations to courses and groups is being worked on pretty much as we speak. So let's first have a look at courses. So courses are a way to host a set of topics and content. When we look at ByteDeck, under Admin, where we looked at site configuration, semesters, is also where you can manage courses. So right now we only have one course, and that's Learn.ByteDeck, and it's for 1000 XP and it's active. When students are provided the Learn ByteDeck link, they're only given one choice, and that's for this course. But I could easily add another one, a new course. And I can have it active or not active, but let's leave it as active right now and I'll create it. So now we have two active courses. When I go to quests, and let's just go to this quest over here, and let's edit the prerequisites right here. And by the way, we'll be going over this later. Notice that I can add a prerequisite that is a course. So I'm just going to scroll down here to courses. There we go. I can say that only folks in this course, this new course, can access this particular quest. So courses are a way to host sets of topics. Now there are certain pros and cons. Pros, student lists can be filtered by courses. Let's have a quick look. If I go to students over here, I can click over here. Notice I only have 2 students right now, and I can select courses here. So now it's listing the courses that are available, and I can click here to filter it by course. Right now we only have the one course here, so it would be tough to filter that, but that's how that works. So you can filter it by courses and view who is in which course. And a deck can host more than one course, as we just saw, and we also saw that courses can be used as prerequisites for things like quests or campaigns. Now there are definitely some cons at this time. For example, adding or moving sets of existing students from a course to another course is clunky and time-consuming. Let's have a quick look at that. If I view a student's profile, notice over here it says courses. I can add a course to that particular student. I can also edit. Notice that I can change the course for that particular student to the new course. Now you can see how this would be fairly clunky because this is how I would make the change. I would have to go into each student and change that manually. Go to that student, edit, and change the course. It is a bit clunky at this time, but that will change over time. The other thing that is a con is we can't really view a list of quests that's filtered by courses, not at this time. One last thing about courses. I now have 2 active courses here. When I provide the link to this deck to my students, the students will have 2 choices. They'll have a choice between Learn.ByteDeck and this new course. So if you do not want your students to have choices, you can edit this, you can deactivate it. There we go, it's not active, so students will not see it, or you can just delete it. Okay, that's courses. Let's have a look at groups. Students can be grouped into blocks or sections or groups, and it can be used for collaboration or for differentiation of quest content. So different students receiving different quests. In ByteDeck, groups can be found right here under Admin, Groups. You notice here that I've decided to have two groups in this particular course, Cohort 1 and Cohort 2. You can add a group by clicking New. We'll make this Cohort 3. I can add a description if I wish. I can make it active or not. And I can select an instructor. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Now, the power of groups is that students' lists can be filtered by groups. So again, if I go to Students, I can view by groups. And then there's this. There can be different instructors in a course or deck with their own assigned groups. What do I mean by that? Well, let's quickly look at the groups for a second. Notice here that I have assigned different instructors to each of these groups. I can change that by clicking the Edit button and assign a different instructor if I wish. But I'll leave that for right now. The idea here is that a course will have common quests for everybody. Quest 1 or 2 or 3. But you can separate your students or clients into groups. Although the quests are the same for Group 1 and 2, when a Group 1 student submits a quest, the quest appears in the Instructor 1's list of submitted quests. And then the same thing happens for a Group 2 student. They submit the same quest, quest number 20 here, but Instructor 2 receives that one. And that happens here in quest approvals. So notice right up here it says My Blocks. So that means that only quests that are submitted by my group are going to appear here, which is really a powerful tool. And if I go back to groups again, you can see which instructors are going to receive which cohort's submissions. And of course, there are going to be cons. At this time, adding or moving sets of existing students from a group to another is clunky and time-consuming. It's basically the same thing as the courses. So if I click on the student, view their profile, I click Edit, and I can change their group right here. Let's have a look at badges for a moment, because badges can be used to group students in a very flexible manner. So badges can be used as awards, of course, as acknowledgement of skill and talent acquisition, and as a way to organize students. It's highly flexible, easier to use as an organizational tool than courses and groups, and students can be easily assigned a badge. Let's have a very quick look at that. Notice that we have 3 different kinds of badges set up in this particular deck, and we have talents, awards for different activities, and teams. So notice there's a green team, a blue team, and a red team here, and it is quite easy to assign groups of students to a team. And then you can use the badge as a prerequisite. Cons, well, the name badges is kind of limiting. It doesn't really represent the power of badges as a flexible and extensible organization tool. Now, if we look at maps for learn.bytedeck, you see that badges are looked at right over here. So right now you're here, courses, semesters, groups. And you'll notice that after completing these 3 quests, you'll be able to look at badges further. It's time for you to have a look at courses and groups. How are you going to use courses and groups with your clients or students? Thanks so much for your attention.